Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Thank you for your patience. Unfortunately, our secretary, who was running a little bit late, but it is now 20 minutes, so I think we will get started with the public hearing and open it at 7:20 tonight. And again, sorry for the delay. And we will try to take the notes and minutes as best we can. With that, I'd like to open the Board of Finance budget hearing for the 2016-2017 budget. And I think many of you have been here before. We will be addressing or welcoming comments on both the City of Milford budget as well as the Board of Education budget. We will open tonight's public hearing with the City of Milford budget. So at this time, I would like to invite any members of the public who would wish to speak or comment upon the City of Milford budget to do so at this time. And I would ask if you please would state your name and address for the record. That would be appreciated. Thank you.
My name is Christopher Thomas. My address is 8 Argyle Road. Just a quick comment. Thank you for all your time spent doing this. It's a very important part of the government process. Full disclosure, my wife works at the library, but I just wanted to come up and speak on behalf of the changes I really, as a parent and as a citizen, have seen at the library the last few years. I've been amazed at how the library is expanding its programs, reaching out to youth, especially with their LEGO program and their support of Minds in Motion and other science activities. So just, of course, I just wanted to say in general my support for the library. I think the amount of programming that goes on there, they are really a youth center now. They are the second senior center. They are a community center. They're such a huge part of Milford. So anything that could be done to maintain their funding would be very welcome. Thank you very much.
Paula Smith, 62 Hauser Street. I'd like the Board of Finance to pay particular attention this year to the debt service. I mentioned this at the Board of Aldermen meeting the other night. Although we've approved certain capital projects and the funding is in there, and it's a little bit late for this budget, but in the long run, we really need to be taking a look at what those future cash flows are on our bonding. We have bonded and have temporary borrowings for tens of millions of dollars. And as the mayor noted in his comments, the debt service continues to increase, and obviously that's as a direct result of what we're doing on all our capital planning. The debt service in the past 5 years looks as if it's gone up about 30% as far as that annual payment, and that is after hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings with the refinancing. So in the long run, if that's one of our growth areas, and obviously it is, and we have tens of millions of dollars worth of projects out there, please take a look at what those future cash flows are, what bonds we're retiring, include the temporary borrowings. I mentioned the other night, I learned about this when I was first on this board. The two people that taught me what to do here was Mr. Fitzpatrick, and I also sat with Judy D'Anico and went through all these schedules. And I know Peter is as diligent on those things, and the data is there, but please take that into account when you start looking at funding future capital and when we're looking at our future budgets. It is an area of concern, and it is going up significantly in spite of the interest rate savings. The other thing I'd like to encourage you to do is to look at what is changing on our grand list. We've heard about the 300, almost 400 new businesses that have come into Milford. What would be interesting to me as a resident and a taxpayer is what is the impact on our grand list of that, and net that out against the businesses that have left Milford. That tells a story, and I know when I was out campaigning last year, people were asking me, where are the 394 new businesses, and what is the impact of that? So that should have a significant impact on our grand list, and I think it would be interesting for the taxpayers to see where those changes are. Thank you.
Thank you to both speakers. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on the City of Milford budget? If you would, please do so at this time. It does not appear that there's anyone who would like to address the board on the City of Milford budget, but if you change your mind and would like to do so, we will take you out of order, so to speak. At this time, I would invite any members of the public who would wish to speak on the Board of Education budget to do so at this time. Thank you.
Hi, how are you? Hello. Good evening. My name is Kara Flannery, and I live at 41 North Street in Milford. I want to begin by thanking the Board of Finance and the City of Milford in supporting our schools through this most recent year of extraordinary transition. I have to tell you how impressed I was as a parent with how our administration, with your support, handled the enormous undertaking of overhauling all 8 elementary schools in just a few short months so that each could accommodate all grades K to 5. Changes in staffing, the reorganization of classrooms, libraries, curriculum materials, as well as welcoming new student populations in each school. All of this was so well executed. At our first orientation event at the end of August, I was amazed to find my son's elementary school all in good order, with teachers and students ready to start the new school year with no sign of disruption. Not only was I pleased to see this as a parent, as someone living through this transition, I was also pleased that as a taxpayer, I was assured that the current administration in our district is extremely capable of effectively executing our shared vision and making it a reality, all on time and all on budget. With so much change behind us, this current proposed budget before you now places emphasis on sustaining and strengthening curriculum programs and initiatives. I'm excited to see new computer science career pathways beginning in the 6th grade, and I'm especially interested on the planned research and development of new social and emotional curriculums. This initiative will not only support student learning and development, but support school climate and safety as well. I am also very pleased to see the increased funding for transportation that allows for shorter walking distances so students can arrive to school ready to learn. Again, as a taxpayer, I think this is a really important investment we are making for our community. And what is so striking to me about this budget is that with all the new initiatives included, our district is only asking for a small increase of 0.835%, and that it was approved with a unanimous vote by our Board of Ed. This budget represents our shared vision for the 2016-2017 school year, and I ask you to approve funding in its entirety. My only regret is that for the 2nd year in a row, it seems our request for an additional SRO officer for our middle schools, one that would allow for SRO coverage at East Shore and Harborside to equal the coverage that is currently provided at West Shore. This position cannot be filled without cost sharing from the Milford Police Department, and sadly, this is currently not in the city's budget. I believe the public is not aware just how invaluable these officers are to our school community. While we have full-time SROs in both of our high schools, I recently learned that research shows that middle school is actually where SROs have the greatest impact on school climate. And we have all lived through middle school, so we can probably attest to that. I was sorry to see that funding for the additional SRO was not included, and I'm hoping there is some way this position may be restored during your deliberations. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ashley Grant, and I'm at 15 West Main Street, right across the river. I'm the president of the Milford Association of Gifted Education, PTA. I have 3 students at Orange Avenue School and another coming up. Thank you for your support of this budget, allocating funding for the Board of Education's Special Education Department, which includes the Gifted program, a valuable offering to all students in this system. Currently, our elementary school enrichment students in the 4th and 5th grades are learning about human rights and developing and facilitating advocacy and service projects to ensure those rights for people here in the community and beyond. So your support of this budget supports the vision to be a progressive school district in which students are prepared to achieve at their highest level. In the future, it might be financially and educationally beneficial to the community to offer educational opportunities similar to those outside of Milford, such as the VOAG program, marine biology, engineering, and art, so that some of Milford's strong learners find their needs met here in Milford Public School System. And our district saves money on transportation outside and outside tuitions to other districts. But thank you again for your support.
Hello again. Once again, Christopher Thomas from 8 Argyle Road. I could not be more impressed with the budget presented by the Education Department. When you look at budgets, when folks like you, when the aldermen look at budgets, when citizens, when people who are concerned with taxes look at budget, you ask yourself, can they keep it low and still meet all of their goals? When the K-5 restructuring was coming back, what we hoped was not only was it about going back to community schools, which it was. I just came from the book fair, which I was helping run at Meadowside tonight, and people are coming out in the pouring rain because they know it's important to buy books for their teachers off the wish list. And it's people from the neighborhood, and my daughter was enjoying watching all her friends come in. But perhaps more importantly, it was about getting that restructuring done and then saying, okay, how are we going to keep improving the education in Milford? And I've already seen the changes in how 4th and 5th grade are administered. I'm very excited, that's for my youngest child. For my middle school child, I'm very excited that they're looking at advancements in coding and in computer science to bring those to the middle school to support the amazing programs they now have and go on both high schools. And the fact is that this superintendent and this district office and this board is including all of their goals, their educational goals, things that matter to our children in the real world, and they're doing it with a budget that comes in at less than 1% increase. I don't have to tell you guys, being on the Board of Finance, you know what typical increases are. You look around at what other cities are proposing. Just the fact that when I start talking about this increase, I start out with 0.8. You really can't find that. You would be hard-pressed to go to the other 160 boards of finances in the state of Connecticut and find them dealing with an education budget that's under 1%. Now, you may be tempted this year, because there is one line item to look at, the $280,000 for the buses, and you think, well, you know what? We've lived without these shorter walking distances for years. It's going to be a tough year. We're not sure how much money the governor is going to give us, especially for the municipal side of the budget. And you could be tempted to cut that. But as you know and as we know, you're not actually cutting that. You're cutting $280,000. And it would take the school board to reverse its policy position to move the distances back. They have now voted. And they've made it a policy. To go back, they need the votes to go back. And right now, based on public comment, based on what people said when they ran for election, based on what they've said at meetings since they've taken the board, there are not the votes to rescind that policy, nor is there the will to rescind that policy. Parents came out, the community said, we believe this will even increase our education. Call up every principal. Find one principal who thinks it's a bad idea. You won't find one. The middle school principals are ecstatic. Okay, the high school principals know this means more kids will walk in the door on time in the morning, ready to learn. I'm an educator myself. I teach at a high school in Hamden, Hamden High. It's a big deal, getting kids to school on time, getting them to start the day right, because we're doing major academic classes at 7:31 in the morning. Here in Milford, you're doing them at 7:25, 7:20 in the morning. This is a big deal. It's very important. And like I said, it might be tempting to think that you cut the money and they roll back the distances. That's probably not what's going to happen. You're probably going to be cutting $280,000 from the programs that this board, this superintendent, this assistant superintendent, and these principals are working really hard to implement for our children. We've already seen our amazing AP test scores go up in the high school. We're now starting to see amazing advancements in literacy and numeracy in the elementary schools and in the middle schools. Let's keep the momentum going. I think we're finally past all the issues with redistricting and everything else. There's amazing positive momentum, and I think the key is for the Board of Finance and then for the Board of Aldermen to continue supporting that momentum. Thank you again for your time.
Hi, Rachel Yakubik, 94 Thompson Street. I'm addressing you tonight, and as others have said, that to please reconsider what we're asking, or what the proposed budget increase is, and how minuscule the increase is. And it's just amazing that, you know, one small amount of money that is supposed to be for the transportation is, you know, something that I feel strongly about not cutting, you know, and I just hope that that's something that you guys can take a look at. You know, I was thrilled when the Board of Ed recently approved the new busing guidelines, as it does directly affect my child, who is currently attending Jonathan Law High School. We live approximately 1.8 miles from Law, and prior to the change, my son was not eligible to ride the bus. The walk to Law is not extremely long, but when you need to be at school by 7:10 and the walk takes about 40 minutes, and it can be long. My son gets up every day at 6:20, eats breakfast at 6:30, and leaves the house at 6:50 to get to the bus stop that is currently 1 block away. If this bus was not available to him, he would need to leave the house by 6:20 to ensure a timely arrival to school. If you back that time up, he would need to get up at 5:45. He is tired enough as it is at school, and this would most definitely impact his learning. During more than half the school year, it is pitch black at 6:20, and he would need to walk on 2 busy roads and cross at least 1 busy road to get to school. I personally do not feel that this is a safe walking route, especially in the dark. I also know that some children need to cross the post road, which is completely unacceptable. We were lucky enough to be added to a bus in October of last year as a courtesy. Before the non-eligible children were added to this particular bus, the bus was practically empty. To me, this is a complete waste of our resources. If we have the buses out there, you know, they should be full. You know, we should be able to fill the buses, and if there are children within the bus stop area, they should be able to be on the buses from the beginning of the school year. For the first month of school, I drove my son along with 3 other students, and the traffic to drop him off was ridiculous. It was a bad spot to begin with, but, you know, just adding all of that traffic, it just gets to be crazy. And like Chris had mentioned, you want to have our children in school on time, ready to learn, you know, and not falling asleep during second period. It's not a matter of convenience. It's not a matter of being lazy. It's a matter of safety, and it's also a matter of using our resources in a better way. For, you know, the people who might say, oh, the kids need exercise, but, you know, it's just not the case, because there is a time and place for kids to get exercise. But walking to school in the morning is not one of those times. So in any case, I think that this change, this increase is a minuscule amount, and I just ask that you not make cost the reason for someone's child to get hurt on the way to school. You can't put a price on a child's safety. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Danielle Pastor. I live at 78 Hill Street. I am a teacher myself in a different district, and I know how important it is to put the money into the education system, so I'm hoping that you approve the budget that was put in front of you. In regards to the transportation, the $280,000, I am one of the parents that have attended the Board of Ed meetings to ask for that. My son is affected. We are almost 2 miles away from the school. My daughter will be attending next year. I even had, I'm sure you've seen on the Connecticut Post, the reporter contacted me, and she took the walk from my house to the Jonathan Law. It took her 40 minutes to walk to the school and 45 minutes back. We can't ask that of our kids every morning when they're supposed to be prepared to take district assessments, to do their classwork, and just to be ready for any classroom discussion. I also gave the reporter 2 years worth of data of what time the sun rises, what time it sets, the temperature, and oftentimes in the winter, it's below freezing at the time my son would have to leave in the pitch black. So I'm just asking that when you're taking the budget into consideration, please make sure that there's money for that extra transportation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carol Thomas, 84 Thompson Street. I'm here to ask you to support the Board of Education budget as presented by Dr. Fieser and the Board of Education. The 0.835 increase is the lowest increase in many, many years. Right now, there's rumor that you all are going to cut the budget by $280,000 because you disapprove of the increased or decreased walking distances and the busing. No child should have to walk to school 2 miles in the morning, 2 miles on the way home. Times 180, that's 720 miles a year. These busing guidelines were put into place in 1959. Those were the days of Andy Griffith. I would have let my child stay out and play in the dark till midnight at that time. That's when everyone watched out for everyone else's child. That's just not the case these days. There are so many more distractions for drivers and for children who have to walk to school. We'd like all the children of Milford to get to school on time. People are on their cell phones, texting, and driving. Kids have to walk rain, snow, cold, warm, hot. Doesn't matter, they have to be at school. High school starts at 7:20, they have to be there. There's a lot more traffic these days. Back in 1959, every family had 1 car. That's not how it is anymore. Everyone has at least 2 cars. In some instances, there are no sidewalks or very poor sidewalks. The sidewalks are not always maintained in the winter for these children to walk to school. It's dark in the morning. It's as dark in the morning at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning as it is now. I don't think any of you would walk here tonight in the cold, in the rain, in the dark, if you lived under 2 miles from here. We just need to keep our children safe in general. They have to take heavy backpacks to school. They need to bring their sports equipment and instruments if that's what they need for school. They have to bring everything they need for that school day, every day. And I would hate for any child to be injured or killed because the walking distances were not adapted per the Board of Ed policy. My son, who is 14, going to be 15 last year, was almost hit by a truck walking home from school because the sidewalk that's owned by DEEP, the state of Connecticut, was not shoveled. It took 10 days to get them to shovel it. So I just ask you, to do what's best for the children of Milford. Keep them in your mind. $280,000 is the high side of the estimated cost of the additional transportation. Just please do what's best for them and keep that in mind. And thank you very much. Have a great night.
Hi, Bob Thomas, 84 Thompson Street. The 0.8% increase this year is probably one of the lowest in a long time. The amount it equals out to is minimal compared to what the actual budget is. As my wife stated, the 280K is on the high side for what the transportation would need to lower the walking distances. Her, myself, as well as other parents fought for a long time to get those distances changed. It's done mainly for the safety of the children, and that is one of the most important things. The children get to school on time. They don't have to carry a backpack 2 miles to school, 2 miles back from school, which equals around, if you're at the 2 mile mark, roughly 720 miles a year, which is a lot of time of walking. The sidewalks are another issue, but that's for another day. Also, the Board of Ed is absorbing a cost of $60,000 for a new generator at Law. That's being added into the budget. I think if there was other things to cut, they should cut in elsewhere, not in the transportation department. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments. If there's anyone else who would like to speak, they can do so at this time. I will take a minute and read a written statement submitted by Kathy Betts, 17 Eastern Parkway, Milford, Connecticut. She had to leave because of the delayed start. So I'll just read her statement. It's in support of the Board of Education budget at 100%. I trust my Milford Board of Education. Please do not take away funds from our children. This is the least increase in many years. Children are an investment and no money should be taken away. Please support the Milford Board of Education budget. And that's submitted by Kathy Betts. And we'll put that into the record. If there's anyone else who would like to speak on either the Board of Education or even the city budget, we'd invite you to do so at this time. Be one more opportunity, and then we'll be closing the budget hearing or the public hearing for tonight. Actually, I should say continuing the public hearing, but this will be the last time that members of the public will have an opportunity to address the board directly. So again, if there's any further comments, please do so now. If not, I would like to thank the members of the public for coming out tonight. It's not the nicest evening, and we appreciate your input and your comments. They were very professional, and we appreciate all of your opinions. Thank you again for coming out. Motion to recess. Is there a second? Seconded? All in favor of recessing? Aye. Aye. Opposed?